In this episode, I will be showing off some patterns that feature the Latvian braid for the improve along, and I'll also be demonstrating some techniques for knitting jogless stripes in the round. So grab your knitting and let's have some fun. Thank you everyone for hanging out with me today. I am Jessy Pellett, also known as That Minnesota Yarn Girl, and as you might have guessed, I live in Minnesota. I live with my husband Mike, my son Thaden, and our two adorable kitties, Zuli and Mia. Just a note before I launch into today's episode, I am currently working on becoming a master knitter. So if you would like to follow along with me on my journey to master knitter level 1, then please subscribe to my channel, and if you hit the little bell, you'll get reminders every time I post a new video. I will be posting an update for that later this week. I will try to post those weekly. Alright, so that brings me to my first segment, which is works in progress and finished objects. So let's start with works in progress. One thing I did not tell you guys about last time that I have been working on all year is Building with Lace by Michelle Hunter. And this pattern is fabulous if you are new to lace or haven't done a ton of lace, or even just you want to improve your lace skills. It's great because there's 9 different segments and then a border segment. And each of these different segments is a little bit of a different lace pattern. So you can see there's all these gorgeous lace patterns, and it's just a great way to learn lace knitting. There's also even some beadwork on this one, and you can just see. And so right now I'm currently on my, I have like 1 row cast on to my 8th panel, and I actually go to a knitting class to work on this. So we work on a panel every month, which is kind of why I forgot to talk to you about it last time, because I usually, after I get done with class, I go home and I just knit up the rest of that panel, although I did not do that this last time. But so normally I just knit it up and then I forget about it for a month. But like I said, this pattern is Building with Lace by Michelle Hunter, and she does such fantastic instructional videos on her website, Michelle Hunter at knitpearlhunter.com. And I will put links to that in the comments below. But she, like I said, she does a great job at just like telling you how to do all of the different things. So if you couldn't take a class, you wouldn't have to. You could do this with her instruction videos because they are fantastic. I like to take a class because it just gets me to the yarn shop once a month, and it gets me out there chatting with other knitters and seeing what everyone else is working on. So that's why I like to take a class. But this is fantastic. I love it so much. And the yarn that I'm using for this one, well, it's the yarn that Michelle Hunter recommends, and it is Hikoo Rylie, and this is the Northern Lights colorway. And Hikoo Rylie is a blend of, let's see, what was it? Linen, baby alpaca, and mulberry silk. So it is just a luxurious, wonderful. Can you guys see my kitties running back there? But this is just a wonderful, luxurious, fabulous yarn. I love it so much. So that's Hikoo Rylie, and like I said, this colorway is Northern Lights. So that is that one. My next work in progress is, I was working on this one last time. This is the Waterlilly, and I have gotten quite a bit further since last time, as you can see. Here was my stitch marker from last time. And I just got up to the Latvian braid this morning. And so I just wanted to get there so that I could show you guys that I did finish that part. So I did get there. One thing about this sweater is it is knit from the bottom up. And I decided I wanted it to be a little bit longer because I think it was supposed to be 11 inches from basically like under the arm down, and I like my garments longer than that, so I knit it 15. And I did some calculations, and I'm pretty sure I should have enough yarn. And just as a reminder, the yarn that I'm using on this one is, I think I called it Islington last time. I'm pretty sure it's probably Islington. That was my podcast #1 jitters. So so this is Islington, and it is Old Smoke is the yarn, and it is a superwash BFL silk blend. So again, just another luxurious, yummy yarn that I absolutely love. So like I said, I just got done with the Latvian braid, and I am super excited now to be able to move on to the lace part, because that's what I was really looking forward to. So that is that. Sorry guys, my battery died, so I don't know if the angle or the background or anything got a little bit weird, but if it did, that's because I had to change my battery, and now I'm back. All right, so moving on to my finished object, which I am very, very excited about, because this is my very first design. I am super excited about this. I'm calling it Waconia. I've decided to call it Waconia because I was trying to come up with names for my designs, and being that I'm from Minnesota, my husband, and my name is That Minnesota Yarn Girl, my husband was like, why don't you just name all of your stuff after things in Minnesota? And like, particularly, you know, if you have a different line of something, it could be named a different, each thing could have its own line. So I thought, okay, well, shawls can be cities, and I was born in Waconia, so I might as well start with where I started, Waconia. So this is the Waconia shawl, and it is, like I said, my first design. I have not written up the pattern yet, so I plan to do that hopefully next week. I'll be able to get that written up and off to a tech editor so that hopefully I can have it ready for you guys to knit, you know, like I said, hopefully soon. But this, I used Lolodidit yarn in Faithfully and Naked Hippo. Those were the colorways, and it was a superwash merino nylon blend. So I just love this. This Faithfully has lots of pinks and purples and like a tiny little bit of blue. But yeah, I really like how this turned out, and I'm very, very proud of it. So this is my very first design, guys. All right, so that is it for finished objects. All right, the Improve Along. So the Improve Along is my version of a knit along. But I wanted to do something to encourage people to get out and try something new, or to try to improve at something that they maybe didn't feel comfortable with in the past. Or if it's something that you have done all along and you love it, then I really just want other people to participate and say and give their feedback and encouragement to those who maybe are a little bit more nervous about trying something new. So this month, the Improve Along, the theme is Latvian braid, which, as I mentioned, I had the Latvian braid in the Waterlilly sweater that I am working on. I did complete that this morning. It was easier than I had anticipated, but it was kind of tedious. So when I say easier, it was easy to do, but it does take a long time, and particularly because I had a lot of stitches on mine, and also because a lot of the examples, and I think a lot of the examples use multiple different colors of yarn, which would make it a little bit easier to carry out. But also I think it highlights the feature a lot more than my particular sweater pattern does. However, I still thought it turned out beautiful, and I think it is a really nice detail that I'm excited to see on the finished product. So I thought I would give some examples, some example patterns that you could use to work on if you're looking for a Latvian braid example that you want to try. The first example that I have, and I will pop a picture up, is the Battle Gauntlets. And this pattern is by Adrienne Lawrence. And I love this pattern because, you guys, I am such a fantasy nerd. And this just, it reminded me so much of, like, I mean, like, Game of Thrones is probably, it's like my favorite books of all time. And I, of course, love the HBO series as well. But I mean, just anything, and anytime I have anything on my Audible channel, it's always fantasy related. And so these Battle Gauntlets, it just totally made me feel like I was in a battle with my, you know, within one of my novels or Game of Thrones or something. And I just love them. So I've not knit them yet, but I have added them to my favorites list because I will definitely be knitting them some winter afternoon where I'm looking for like a weekend project, because they just look like so much fun. The pattern is $2 on Ravelry, and it was given a rating of 4.8, and that was by 24 users, and I assume those same 24 users rated it about a difficulty level of a 3. So it does not look like it is a difficult pattern at all. And Adrienne recommends using Madeline Tosh, Pashmina worsted, or the Verdant Griffin Mondegreen. So those are the yarns that she recommends. Like I said, it looks like this pattern just looks like a lot of fun, and I can't wait to knit it someday. The other example I have with a Latvian braid is the Westward hat by Stephen West. This hat looks beautiful. There's all kinds of other details besides the Latvian braid, and it just looks gorgeous. And I've also added this one to my favorites list because it just looks like, I mean, it looks super impressive, right? Like it looks like from a standpoint, like it's actually rated at about a 3 or a 4, so I don't think it's like too terribly difficult, but it looks like one of those hats that like people who don't knit particularly would be super impressed because it just has lots of different beautiful features to it. That pattern is €6 on Ravelry, and like I said, the rating was about a 3 or a 4, and I haven't knit it yet, but I do plan to knit that one. The Ravelry rating was about a 4.7 for that hat. And Stephen West suggests using a Malabrigo twist. So again, that hat looks gorgeous, and it's another one I've added to my favorites to knit up someday. So that is what we've got for this month's Improve Along, the Latvian braid. Just a sneak peek, guys. I think next month I'm thinking about doing brioche knitting because I have never tried it, and it seems to be like all the rage right now. And there's so many gorgeous brioche patterns out there. I have to try them. So next month, it's gonna be brioche, if you want to get a head start on that. And also I just want to throw out there, if you're working on the Latvian braid and it's not going to be done by the month of August, don't feel like you have to rush. That is not the point of it. I'm going to leave the finished object thread up in Ravelry, so you can post your pictures for a while. It's just because obviously if it's something new that you're just trying, it might take a little bit longer, and so I'll leave that up for a while. It's just, I'm throwing it out there as something that maybe you should try if you haven't tried it before. All right, so that is the Improve Along. Okay, moving on to Knitflixing. And Knitflixing I came across this terminology when I was reading an article several years ago. Knitflixing is when you sit down and you binge watch TV and knit at the same time. And it was funny, when I came across the article, I thought, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that was a thing, but it's like my favorite thing to do pretty much ever. So I just want to talk about some different shows that I like to sit down and knit in front of. One show, I haven't actually watched it for a while, but for a while I was watching Reign, which is a show about Mary, Queen of Scots. And as I said, I am a huge fan of fantasy. And this one, obviously, it's based on history. It's historical fiction, but I think it's probably leans more towards the fiction side than historical. I don't really know what the historical accuracy is at all, but I'm pretty sure that it's not very accurate whatsoever. But it is a really fun show to watch. I really enjoy it. I watch it by myself because I know that my husband Mike would never like that kind of a show. And here comes Zuli. Zuli wants to say hi. But lost my train of thought. Anyways, so Reign is a great show about Mary, Queen of Scots. It's really fun to watch. And it's not like a super intense show, so you could knit just about anything, I think, while you were watching Reign. You know, you might not want to knit your most complicated lace patterns or something that you have to really follow along on. But, you know, anything with a simple stitch or a simple lace pattern, you could easily knit while watching Reign. The other show that I have been watching with my husband is The Americans. The Americans, it's on its 6th season, I think, but we just started, so we're only on season 1. And it's a show about KGB Russian spies in the 1980s living as Americans. It's a fun show. It's really interesting, and it's not, even though it's a spy show, it's not like super action heavy, but it is a good one. It's a really good show to watch. That one is maybe a little, so I've knit, I was actually mostly working on my Waconia shawlette when I was watching The Americans recently. So, you can definitely work on things that have more than just a garter stitch or a stockinette stitch pattern, but there are times that you might need to kind of set it down for a minute or two to pay a little bit closer attention, but it's really not, it's not too intense of a show. So most patterns would work while watching that show. But I really want to hear from you guys. I really want to know what shows you enjoy Knitflixing and what kind of patterns that you like to knit while you are watching those shows. So please, guys, comment down below and let me know what you're watching, and like I said, what patterns you're working on while you're watching those shows. All right, so that's it for Knitflixing. Knit Happens, guys. I found this really fun story about 2 siblings that are spending their summer vacation knitting hats for newborn babies. That I just find like so inspiring, and it's so great. So it's about how 10-year-old, I think her name is Zoa, I'm sorry if I don't pronounce the names correctly, but 10-year-old Zoa learned how to knit, to loom knit from her 5th grade teacher, and then went home and was bored over the summer, so she taught her 6-year-old brother how to knit, and the 2 of them started this program called Hats for Cuddles, where they're knitting for newborn babies, and then they're now collecting donations from other knitters and donating them to local hospitals for the newborn babies. Currently their goal is to knit 5 hats a day, and then also, like I said, they're collecting hats from other knitters and donating them to local hospitals. These 2 live in Canada, so their goal is to eventually take the Hats for Cuddles program and donate to hospitals all across the country of Canada. I think this is a fantastic idea, and like I said, just so inspiring. I really wish that my son Thaden would knit some hats for newborn babies instead of playing Fortnite all day long. I think, but that's neither here nor there. All right, so that brings us to the final segment of tips, tricks, and hacks. So this week I have a tip or a technique on how to knit stripes in the round without having a jog. So if you don't know what a jog is when you have stripes and when you knit them in the round, they don't always line up because your new round is gonna just kind of go right over your old round, and then it can create like an uneven stitch mark. And so I'm actually going to take out this other work in progress that I have here, which is Thaden's sock, and there it is knit in stripes. So I had to figure out how to knit those stripes without the jog. And there's two different ways that you can do it. So to start with, first you're gonna knit so you have to take the color, the new color, and then you're going to take the string of the old color and make sure it crosses on top over the new color that you're using. So like if you're going to make it go to, the string is going to go to the left of the new color, and then you'll start knitting with that color. And you'll knit all the way around one row. And then once you get to the other side, then you've knit your whole new color in one row, and you're about to pick up and start knitting that new color all over again. There's two ways. The first way you can do it is you can just either slip that stitch purlwise. So again, you just insert your needle purlwise and slip it, and then continue knitting. Or you can lift the stitch underneath it up on top of your needle and then knit them both together and then continue knitting. And then either way, you can see that you will not have a jog because you'll have less stitches in that one particular column, but it makes it so that it's a smoother transition so that you don't have that jog. So again, you can either slip it purlwise, or you can knit it, or you can lift that stitch below it and knit the two together. And those are two different ways that you can achieve that. So I would just, play around with them both and figure out which one you like best and which one works best for you. So that's just a nice little tip on how to avoid those jogs when you're knitting stripes in the round. All right, guys, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me today. If you like what you saw, please like, subscribe, and comment below. You can also tap the little bell, which will let you know whenever I post a new video. But I do really appreciate you coming and hanging out with me. You can also find me on Instagram, Ravelry, and Facebook, all as That MN Yarn Girl. Until next time, I will leave you with a picture of cats and hats. Bye!